Hey, this is C&D Channel. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC Fight Night 52, Hunt vs. Nelson, which happens on September 20th on UFC Fight Pass. Overall, decent card actually. Main event strong. You got some good prospects fighting. Myles is pretty decent. The debuts of Nakai and Kanehara. Misanori Tanaka is a good prospect. Hungyu Lim coming off a loss to Safadine, but still a pretty good prospect. Kyoji Horiguchi, another good prospect. Caceres, Bruce Leroy there, good prospect. So yeah, not a bad card as far as just having good prospects on here, and a pretty strong main event, to be perfectly honest with you. Let's just get started with the main card. Mark, the Super Samoan Hunt, fights Roy Big Country Nelson. Well, Big Country has a 20-9 record, 13 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He's 38 years old. He's a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with good top control. But lately he's been electing to stand with his opponent, and he pretty much spams an overhand right. When it hits people, his opponent gets KO'd. He has one punch knockout power, especially with that overhand right. He's shown to have a very strong chin. Guys like Fabricio Verdum and Junior Dos Santos have not been, Stipe Miocic, Daniel Cormier have not been able to put him away. Actually, the only guy to put him away by strikes happens to be Andrei Arlovsky back in Elite XC. His stand-up defense is not very good, especially as the fight wears on. The guy just eats punches. And his cardio can be a bit questionable as the fight goes on too. One thing that's interesting, 5 rounds. Mark Hunt, 9-8 record with 1 draw. 6 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by decision. He has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 6 losses by sub. He's 40 years old, training out of ATT and like Jackson Winkledron. He's a strong kickboxer, really good left hook. He actually put away Stefan Struve with like a jumping left hook. He has a good uppercut as well. Just a really heavy-handed guy. He actually has a pretty heavy leg kick as well. He's got a really strong chin. Funny that I remember watching the Junior Dos Santos fight, and he throws like an overhand right that Mark Hunt, he actually gets dropped, rolls, and just gets back to his feet. Which is probably a punch that would knock out a lot of guys. His takedown defense has greatly improved. I mean, Mark Hunt is a guy that had some liabilities in a lot of areas. Even his cardio isn't that much of a liability these days. Surprisingly enough, he used to be a guy, if you take him down, it's over. You won. Like freaking McCorkle managed to come over and get him from his back. Alistair Overeem got this weird armbar on him. I mean, it used to be a case of Mark Hunt, take him down, submit him, it's done. Not anymore. Bigfoot managed to mount the guy, ground and pound, still survived. And he shows overall just good takedown defense as well. Not many guys can take him down anymore. He went to the ground with Struve. Struve's pretty underrated on the ground. Really good triangle. Didn't get subbed. Ended up knocking out Struve. And like I said, even his cardio's improved. Won a good 3 rounds with Junior Dos Santos until he got knocked out, of course. But he was still pretty strong there. Looked really bad against Ben Rothwell. That was in Colorado, though. Went 5 rounds with Bigfoot. And I think that's a lot. I mean, by the 4th and 5th round, I mean, they were both just fighting sloppy and just became a total battle of attrition. But like nonetheless, it's surprisingly for heavyweight and his age, it's not that bad anymore. It's not this utter liability where it's like, okay, you're gonna beat up Mark Hunt in the 3rd round. No, actually, I've actually seen him stay pretty strong in the 3rd round. I want to even say he knocked out Stefan Struve in the 3rd round. I'm not saying it's great cardio or anything like that. He slows down a lot. His output just drops. But like, I'm just saying he's been in pretty deep waters now. He can still fight in deep waters. And considering in any other weight class, it'd be bad cardio, but it's heavyweight. That's the thing. So I have to actually say, what I'm trying to point out is just like what was once a liability for Mark Hunt. Really, he's kind of covered up those holes. So this is kind of an interesting fight. I would actually say it's a battle between the left hook of Mark Hunt versus the overhand right of Roy Nelson. If Mark Hunt can avoid the overhand right, it's all Mark Hunt. The only problem is I don't know if he can. But I don't know. I don't think Roy Nelson is going to actually come away unscathed either. And you got to say, Bigfoot hit Mark Hunt with some pretty good hits. He did get dropped at one point. Still survived. Went 5 rounds, And then, heck, man, he's throwing elbows at the 5th round against Bigfoot. So he is a lot more diversity than Roy Nelson. Like I said, he did relatively well against Junior Dos Santos as well. Didn't get totally blown out. I mean, got knocked out, but not totally blown out. Junior Dos Santos just totally blew out like Roy Nelson pretty much. I got to go with the Super Samoan to win this one. I think he's probably gonna eat an overhand right or 2 in this fight, but I think he's also gonna be able to hit Nelson with a good amount of his strikes. Hard for me to see. Hard for me to see them get finished with strikes. Just knowing Roy Nelson and how he eats punches, I can actually kind of see Roy Nelson possibly more likely to knock out Mark Hunt than Mark Hunt can knock out Roy Nelson. But even then, I would actually say just the knockout would have to happen in the first 2 rounds. I think Mark Hunt could also outlast Roy Nelson and in the later rounds do better. I think they'd both be pretty gassed, but I think Hunt would be still the stronger of the 2 if it does go the full 5 rounds. So yeah, I gotta go with Mark Hunt. I think he has a little more variety in his striking. A lot of the holes in his game he's improved. Like I think Roy Nelson would have a hard time taking down Hunt. Hunt is a heavy hitter as well, so and Nelson isn't the best defensive striker. Hunt does get hit clean. But even then, I would actually say he's a bit more better about his defense than Roy Nelson. So yeah, Mark Hunt for the win there. It's tough to say because Roy Nelson just has that overhand right. I mean, that's the thing. It's like Dan Anderson. Oh, he has the overhand right. It's that one difference maker. On a technical level, especially in the stand-up, Mark Hunt all the way. On the ground, Nelson, but these days Hunt can definitely handle himself well on the ground now, so he doesn't get like subbed and whatnot. But Nelson just has that overhand right. But I'll go with Mark Hunt to win that one. Okay, next right off that, Takanori Gomi fights Myles Jury. Gomi has a 35-9 record with 1 no contest, 13 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 6 losses by submission. He's 35 years old. He's a notorious brawler with heavy hands. He has some pretty good takedown defense. His chin is really good. See the fight against Isaac Valley Flag. He just eats punches. He still can just eat punches really, really well. But his cardio kind of sucks. I mean, the thing with Gomi, too, is that he's one of those guys that's notorious for being lackadaisical with his training at times. And it really shows in his performances and in his cardio. Myles Jury, 14-0 undefeated record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. 25 years old, training out of Alliance with the likes of Michael Chandler, Phil Davis, Gustafson, Norman Park, Jeremy Stevens trains there now. A lot of guys training out of Alliance. And you definitely see the Ross Peterson. You definitely see the Alliance type of striking these days in Myles Jury. You saw it in the Delos Sanchez fight. Lots of movement. That's the thing with Alliance. See guys with a lot of movement and high volume. You don't always necessarily see a lot of power striking these days from guys out of the Alliance camp. But for some, like Ross Peterson's been knocking dudes out. But, you know, a lot of guys, that high movement, high volume style. He's a good wrestler, too. Myles Jury is. Solid stand-up. He's good on the ground. He actually beat Michael Johnson when Michael Johnson was coming up. I mean, he just took him down at will. Passed his guard almost at will. And just looked really good. I gotta go with Myles Jury in this one, you know. It's just... He's the more well-rounded guy. He's younger. I think he can avoid Gomi's brawling style. Maybe even wrestle if need be. I think he'll utilize movement a lot of times to avoid Gomi's power striking. So Myles Jury for the win there. Okay, next is a fight between two guys who have not fought since 2012. As Yoshihiro Sexyama Akiyama fights Amir Sadollah. Amir Sadollah has a 6-4 record, 2 wins by sub, 4 wins by decision. He's 34 years old, training out of Syndicate. Others that train out there would be like Mike Pyle, if I'm not mistaken, Roxanne Modafferi, a couple others too, actually. He last fought in September 2012. I want to say it's against Dan Hardy, actually. It's a loss to Dan Hardy. Decent Muay Thai. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is actually not too bad, though. Sadollah is very unathletic, and he's not much of a power striker. He has good cardio, though, and he's a volume striker, but definitely not a power striker. Getting a bit long at the 2-2 at 34 years old. Akiyama, 13-5 record with 2 non-contests. 5 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. He's 39 years old. On a 4-fight losing streak. He lost Stoney, like some pretty good guys. Lieben when he was on that good streak. Vitor knocked him out, but Vitor's in like 3 different weight classes to Akiyama. Michael Bisping beat him, and then he lost to Jake Shields in a pretty tepid fight, actually. I hear he's training out of Jackson Winklejohn these days, and he last fought, I want to say it's Michael Bisping back in February 2012. Akiyama does have a legit judo background. Really good trip takedowns. He's actually used them with good success against Jake Shields. I remember Lieben, he was taking them down really well. His stand-up's actually solid. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's not too bad. His cardio's crap. That's the thing with Akiyama. He has really bad cardio, though. He actually did surprisingly well against Jake Shields. If he just got a little more volume and pulled the trigger a little more, I think he could have got a more a definitive unanimous decision win, because he was taking them down at will, pretty much. Shields could not take down Akiyama, and Shields actually was outstriking Akiyama, even though Akiyama is the better striker. Amir Sadollah, though, I mean, this guy struggles with the likes of like Jorge Lopez, you know. I mean, just like the lowest tier guy that they give him. He'll beat him, but there are times that he struggles against some really low tier guys. So, you know, I gotta go with Akiyama. I think he's just a more well-rounded fighter. Sadollah does have the superior cardio, though. But otherwise, I think Akiyama might be able to take the fight to the ground if need be. Should be able to outstrike Sadollah as well. I can see Sadollah doing well in, say, like the 3rd round or something like that. But for the most part, I got to go with Akiyama for the win there. Next fight after that, Nakai fights Miesha Tate. Miesha Tate, 14-5 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. She also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. Both of those losses by sub are by armbar from Ronda Rousey. She's 28 years old, training out of Extreme Couture. Super resilient. I mean, you see her fight against like Julie Kedzie. She's getting like head kicked. She's getting knocked down and whatnot, and she's still coming. Against Ronda Rousey, she went like 3 rounds with Ronda Rousey, the only woman to do that so far. She's a good wrestler with good top control. She's got a pretty strong chin actually. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills are solid. Her striking is below average. She's still one of the. She's kind of old school in that sense, where she's like, quote unquote, punches like a girl. Pretty much, her stand-up technique isn't the greatest by any stretch. Nakai, 16-0, undefeated record with 1 draw. She has 4 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. 27 years old on a 6-fight win streak. Before that, she had that draw. It is her first fight in the UFC. She does have legit good wrestling and some good top control. Her Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills are actually pretty solid. She's actually good when she takes it back. Earlier in her career, actually, she was can crushing pretty much. Had some really weird rules in her favor too, where like her opponent misses weight, and even if the opponent wins, it's just a draw or some other, some really weird rules to let Nakai win. Her last 2 fights, actually, she fought Tara LaRosa. I mean, Tara LaRosa was on the down of her career. But then, in her most recent one, she beat Sarah Delalia, who's actually just a pretty solid fighter. Sarah Delalia doesn't have the greatest takedown defense, and she has a tendency to stay on her back when she is taken down. So it was a good style matchup for Nakai. But nonetheless, it is a solid win, actually, to beat Delalia. So, it's definitely, she's not a can. This fight's interesting because I remember watching Liz Carmouche's fight against Miesha Tate. Carmouche managed to take down Tate, get her up against a cage, kind of just lay and preyed on her. One of the biggest problems with Miesha Tate, though, is fight IQ. I mean, she has a tendency to strike when she should be grappling, and grappling when she should be striking. Cases in point. Julie Kedzie. Okay, she should have been trying to take the fight to the ground, kept the fight standing, got head kicked. I mean, she won with an armbar from her back in a fight she was losing. This goes to show for a lot to show for her resilience, but definitely wasn't the best strategy, Ronda Rousey, she should have been striking with her. She managed to hit her in the face a couple times. Goes for some very ill-advised takedowns and just gets judo tossed beautifully for attempting those really bad takedowns. I mean, she's grappling when she should be striking. And against Liz Carmouche, she should have been wrestling with her more. She elected to strike with her more, and Liz Carmouche was able to get the takedown first against Miesha Tate. And, a lot of people are a bit, it was a somewhat contentious win. I thought Miesha Tate deserved a nod, but it kind of goes to show that she'll strike when she should be grappling, and she'll grapple when she should be striking. And it's actually because of that, I'm going to go through Nakai. I don't look at betting odds, but I'd imagine Miesha Tate's probably the betting favorite, but that's the thing. I know what Nakai's going to do. I know she's going to try and wrestle, and she's going to try and take the fight to the ground and stay on top, maybe and try and take the back. Miesha Tate should probably counter wrestle and probably get her own takedowns herself, and not let Nakai get the takedown first. I can't trust her to do that. That's just the thing. I can't trust her to do that. Liz Carmouche managed to get the takedown first in the first like 2 rounds of their fight. You know, it's once again, Miesha Tate was striking when she should have been grappling. She should have went for her own offensive takedowns against Carmouche instead of allowing Carmouche to get the takedown first. And like I said, I just can't trust Tate in that sense to always fight smart. I can actually see her losing rounds unless she fights smart or manages to defend the takedowns really well, and beats up Rin Nakai on the feet. Miesha Tate doesn't really have a lot of power in her striking as well. She can get sloppy, and that can actually cause her to get off balance. I do trust Rin Nakai because from what I've seen, it's mainly she'll strike a little. When she sees the opportunity, she'll aggressively try and get the takedown, stay on top, maybe even get to a dominant position. And I kind of trust Rin Nakai to do that. With Miesha Tate, I don't know what she's going to do. She might strike, get herself off balance, get taken down, be on her back for most of the round. I can definitely see that, to be perfectly honest with you. Overall, as far as the sum of her, as far as who's the better fighter, yeah, Miesha Tate's probably the better overall fighter. She's probably the better wrestler and better grappler, arguably. Rin Nakai's a bit undersized for the division, but she's really strong. But Miesha Tate's actually a bit undersized for the division as well. She can probably cut to 125 if she really needed to. So I don't think Miesha Tate will have a huge size advantage over Rin Nakai either. So, like I said, I know what Rin Nakai is going to do. I don't know what Miesha Tate's going to do. I'm going to go with Rin Nakai just because, at the very least, she's more reliable as far as what she wants to accomplish in the cage. Whereas Miesha Tate, not as reliable. So, Rin Nakai for the win there. If Rin Nakai were a striker, though, and not a grappler, I'd probably go with Miesha Tate. But because Rin Nakai is a grappler, I think she might be able to actually take down Tate. And like I said, get top control on her. So, yeah, Rin Nakai for the win there. Next fight after that, surprise, this is on the main card, as Kiichi Kunimoto fights Richard Walsh. Richard Walsh has an 8-1 record. He came from the Ultimate Fighter Nations. He has 4 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 25 years old on a 6-fight win streak. Most recently beating Chris Indich in a fight that was not that great. It's very average. I mean, like, striking isn't anything to write home about. It's kind of average. It's grappling, average at best, you know. Kunimoto, 17-5 record with 2 draws and 1 no contest. His 2 wins by KO TKO, 9 wins by sub. 33 years old on a 6-fight win streak. He does have some solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. His back control is really good, and he's good in the clinch. He has a really good upset victory over Daniel Serafian. Clinched him, took him down, took his back, choked him out. I can actually see Kunimoto just using his superior grappling to beat Richard Walsh here. So I'm going to go with Kunimoto to win with his superior grappling. And the final fight on the main card, I got Kyoji Horiguchi fighting John Delos Reyes. Delos Reyes has a 7-3 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He has 2 losses by submission, 27 years old. He is a finisher. I mean, he's only been to decision once in his career. Stand-up's actually pretty solid. I remember against Destin Kimura, somebody found the UFC. It didn't last very long, but he was actually doing really well, beating up Kimura on the feet. But Kimura's really tricky on the ground, and he managed to get an armbar on Delos Reyes. Kimura got it on Delos Reyes. I don't know, I haven't seen too much other footage of him. I just remember his stand-up was actually pretty solid, considering who he was fighting, too. Horiguchi, 13-1 record, 8 wins by KO TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 23 years old on a 7-fight win streak. Most recently beating Daryl Montague. Trains out of Crazy B with the likes of Issei Tamura and Kid Yamamoto. Solid stand-up, actually. Has some good ground and pound. His takedown defense isn't that great, though. I remember he fought, Dustin Pegg, if I'm not mistaken, got taken down there. Even Daryl Montague managed to take him down. So, but he's pretty good on the ground. Like I said, I like his ground and pound, especially when he's on top. It's really good there. And his stand-up's pretty solid. He's beating up Daryl Montague on the feet pretty bad. Horiguchi's one of the better. I mean, there's 3 really good Japanese prospects right now. There's Horiguchi, Yuta Sasaki, and Michinori Tanaka. And all of them are arguably blue chip prospects coming out of Japan. I gotta go with Horiguchi here. I like what I see in the stand up. No, he's not too bad. He's not that bad on the ground. I think he needs work on his takedown defense, but otherwise, yeah, Horiguchi for the win here. Okay, on the prelims, you got Alex Caceres versus Masanori Kanehara. Kanehara, 23-11 record with 5 draws, 8 wins by KO TKO, 9 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by KO TKO and 5 losses by sub. 31 years old. It's his first fight in the UFC. A lot of people will probably know him from like Sengoku, Deep, Pancrase, if I'm not mistaken. You know, he's been around. I remember he's been in some really bad highlight reel losses against like Marlon Sandro with the uppercut and whatnot. One thing about Kanehara, he has a really upright stance. His stand-up's good. He throws straight punches. He can get a bit sloppy at times. I remember watching his fight against Omigawa. He does have good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills and a particularly good back control as well. If you watch the Omigawa fight, the first round, it's just kind of hard, just on his back the whole time. Alex Caceres, 10-6 record with 1 no contest, 2 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 5 losses by submission. He's 26 years old, training out of the MMA lab with the likes of Benson Henderson, John Moraga, and others. He has some pretty unorthodox stand-up, actually. I remember in some fights he went for like a Hadouken type move one time. It'd be kind of funny in that sense. He utilizes a lot of movement, and that really showed in even the Faber fight. But I think it was like the Lorm, where he was using like really good movement along with his striking. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has greatly improved. He's always been good off his back, but like he's a guy that, I mean, 5 of his 6 losses are by submission, but he's really shored up his like submission defense. Like I said, he's good off his back. He's a good scrambler as well, and his back control is really good. He beat Sergio Pettis by rear naked choke. You know, did really well against Faber. Defended his takedowns pretty well. Did really good in the stand-up. So Alex Caceres is one of the better prospects in the bantamweight division. I definitely see top 10 potential in him. When he was an Ultimate Fighter, I thought nothing of the guy. I thought the guy would just fizzle out in the UFC. He went down 2 weight classes and just kept showing to be a very much improving fighter, you know. Gotta go with Caceres to win this one, you know. I mean, Kanehara's actually pretty solid both on the ground and in the stand-up. I can see him giving Caceres fits. It was supposed to be Faber who's supposed to fight Kanehara, so this is somewhat late. I think pretty early on, though, Faber pulled out and Caceres took the fight. But I like more of what I see out of Caceres in his stand-up and his overall ground game as well. He's fought both of these guys have fought some pretty good guys, though. So, you know, you can't totally count out Kanehara. He is a solid fighter, both in the stand-up and on the ground. But I think Caceres You know, it's always hard to. Here's another thing too. It's always hard to trust a lot of these like Japanese vets that are going into the UFC. A lot of them have had very mixed results, at times very poor results coming into UFC. Some of the newer guys, like I said, Tanaka, Horiguchi, and Sasaki, have been finding great success in the UFC. I know a lot of them that have been training in the US as of late, you know, out of like Team Alpha Male or like Jackson's and whatnot. I don't know if Kanehara is doing the same. So, also Kanehara has that really upright stance, which leaves him pretty open. Caceres does. His stand-up defense still needs some improvement himself. But, you know, I'll go with Caceres to win this one. I think it might be a bit hard fought. But it's also really hard to say how these Japanese vets do in the U.S. There's always things to consider. First fight in the UFC. You won't have to do a lot of flying, which is good. Because I know when they do a lot of flying with jet lag and whatnot, they don't tend to perform that well. But, you know, in like Japan, he doesn't have to really worry about that. But nonetheless, Caceres for the win. Next fight, I thought Katsunori Kikuno fights Sam Sicilia. This is actually pretty hard for me to call. Kikuno has a 21-6 record with 2 draws, 11 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's 32 years old. He's that weird zombie-like karate-style stand-up. He's really like flat-footed, does not move at all. Got killed by Tony Ferguson. I mean, Tony Ferguson just had his way with Kikuno. One thing that's always interesting about Kikuno is his use of crescent kicks. He'll actually throw them to like the liver, and to great effect, actually. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skill, I mean, he can handle himself on the ground as well. Sam Sicilia, 13-4 record with 7 wins. 13-4 record, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. 20 years old, training out of Sick Jitsu, the likes of Juliana Pena and Michael Chiesa. Sicilia is something of a brawler, but he's always pushing forward, super aggressive, a high-pressure fighter. He does have some pretty heavy hands. He's good in the clinch, and he'll bully opponents against the clinch and work dirty boxing and whatnot. He's got a pretty good chin. Stand-up defense is really bad, though. That guy eats punches. Cole Miller managed to drop him. Hana Jason managed to TKO him as well. So the stand-up defense isn't that great. Nonetheless, I want to say the forward pressure should be enough to beat Kikuno. I know Tony Ferguson actually is a good amount of forward pressure on Kikuno to get the win here. The only thing that makes me hesitant to pick Sicilia, but I am going to pick Sicilia to win this one, is his stand-up defense. I can kind of see him take a couple hits, trying to like initiate the clinch, or just Kikuno working on the outside or something like that, and just Sicilia taking hits because his defense is pretty bad. But I want to say that I think Sicilia will be able to get his hands on him, maybe even get the clinch, get some dirty boxing, make life difficult for Kikuno, not give him a lot of space. So, with that said, Sam Sicilia for the win. Next fight after that, Hyun Lim fights Takanori Sato. Sato has a 17-9 record with 7 draws, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 6 wins by sub. Has 6 losses by KO or TKO. Does have some good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills, actually, especially arm locks. He has a lot of wins by like Kimura and armbar and whatnot. But his stand-up's pretty weak. Man, he fought Eric Silva, and he just got killed. I mean, Eric Silva, I remember Sato grabbed a leg, and Silva did this weird like hacky sack kick on him. I mean, he just had his way with Sato. Hyun Lim, 12-4 record with 1 draw, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. Has 2 losses by submission. 29 years old. training on a Korean top team with the likes of Dong Yang and Taehyun Bang. He is big for 170. He has some really strong knees. That's one of his best weapons, are his knees. He's knocked opponents out with those. He does have some good stand-up. His stand-up defense isn't very good. He is really heavy-handed. I mean, he did most recently lose to Tarek Safadine after getting his leg just totally mauled. But then he actually managed to drop Safadine in the 5th round. I think Lim, especially with his size and just his heavy-handedness, beats Sato here in the stand-up. Might defend a couple takedown attempts. If Lim can get some knees on Sato, it's not going to be pretty. Hungyu Lim to beat Takanori Sato with Lim's superior stand-up. Next fight after that, Kang fights Michinori Tanaka. Tough fight for me to call here, actually. Kang has a 12-7 record with 1 no contest, 2 wins by KO TKO, 9 wins by sub. He's 27 years old. He's definitely gonna be the bigger man here. I think he's relatively big for the weight class, and Tanaka is pretty small for the weight class. Kang is 27 years old. He's a very strong scrambler. Whether he's on top, he's gonna aggressively look to guard pass, and if he's on the bottom, Kang is he's really good at finding his way back, either sweeping back to top position or just getting back to his feet. He's really good in the scramble. And a pretty good wrestler as well. The problem with Kang is his defense, especially in the stand-up, is really bad. This guy gets hit clean, and he gets hit clean a lot. There's actually an up kick from Chico Camus that pretty much caused Kang to fight when they fought a while back. Michinori Tanaka, 10-0, undefeated record, 5 wins by sub, 5 wins by decision. He's 23 years old. If I'm not mistaken, I think he has a judo background. I remember against Roland Delorme, he's hitting some really good body lock, trip takedowns and whatnot. His Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills are solid, and his stand-up is improving. This is just the thing that I see with this is it's a tough style matchup for Tanaka. I don't know if he can get the fight to the ground, and Kang is a good scrambler. I kind of went back and forth with this, because even if Tanaka can get the fight to the ground, I can see Kang scrambling back to his feet, or being able to even sweep to get top position. And the size difference. Kang's going to be the bigger fighter as well. So, dude, I really underestimated Tanaka. Looking at the skill set, though, I mean, I underestimated Tanaka against Delorme and picked Delorme to win, and Tanaka managed to take him down and keep him there. The problem here is, oh man, I was actually leaning towards Tanaka. I'm kind of going with Kang now. I mean, the thing with Tanaka is, like I said, I mean, the thing that's kind of making me choose Tanaka is a label. Like, he's this really good prospect. But if I look at the skill sets, like, if Tanaka can get the fight to the ground, Kang, in my opinion, should be able to get back to the feet or even get top position. And I can also see Kang possibly even taking Tanaka to the ground. And the stand-up, I'd favor Tanaka, for sure. He's pretty good there. Kang's defense in the stand-up's pretty bad. But Kang's a good wrestler, and he's actually pretty relentless about just getting takedowns and getting the fight to the ground. And if he's going to be the bigger fighter here, I think that doesn't bode well for Tanaka. I don't know how well he'll be able to defend takedowns from Kang. You know what? I was going to go Tanaka here, but I'm going to go Kang, actually. I just think that stylistically certain things work against Tanaka. Where he's strong, so is Kang. But also, then there's a size factor as well. So yeah, I'm gonna go Kang to win this one. It's gonna, it'll suck if Tanaka wins, and I'm gonna be like, oh my god, why did I pick Kang to win this one? I shouldn't underestimate Tanaka, but like, the thing is, Kang isn't rolling DeLorme. He's not a guy that will just be content off his back and look for subs off his back. Kang is a guy who looks for sweeps off his back and finds ways to get back to his feet. In the stand-up, I'd favor Tanaka, but I don't favor him that much. I think Kang might be able to get his own wrestling on Tanaka as well. So, you know what? I'm changing my pick here. I was going to go Tanaka, but now I'm going to go Kang to win this one. Next fight after that, Johnny Case fights Kazuki Tokudome. Tokudome has a 12-5 record with 1 draw, 5 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO. He's 27 years old on a 2-fight losing streak. He has some average stand-up. He'll throw a lot of volume, but man, his stand-up defense sucks. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills actually aren't too bad though, if you can get the fight to the ground. And he's not too bad on the ground. Johnny Case, 18-4 record, 11 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. 25 years old, 8-fight win streak. It is his first fight in the UFC. I saw his fight against EJ Brooks. I can't say I was totally impressed. I didn't even think he should have got the win there. He got taken down by Brooks a couple times. He does have an amateur wrestling background though. He's been wrestling for a while. His kickboxing's average. He does throw long, leg kicks and straight punches, which I do like. The thing is that I've been largely unimpressed with Tokudome. His stand-up defense just isn't very good. It's decent on the ground. Might be able to get Johnny Case down, but that's the best I can say for Tokudome, to be honest with you. I'm going to go Johnny Case to win this one. I can't say I was totally impressed with Johnny Case, though, so I think he might be able to keep the fight at range, at least. So I'll say that much for Johnny Case. Hopefully he can defend takedowns, but I'll go Case based more on range striking and just how largely unimpressed I've been with Tokudome up until this point. And finally, Maximo Blanco fights Daniel Hooker. I usually go on my big spiel about Maximo Blanco. I'll do that here. So, Maximo Blanco, 10-6 record with 1 draw and 1 no contest. 7 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by decision. He also has 2 losses by sub. 30 years old. At his best, he has good stand-up. He'd be something of a very offensive-minded fighter. He can swarm opponents at times. Does have some good wrestling. Terrible fight IQ. And a notorious rule breaker. So now for my spiel about how Maximo Blanco breaks rules. So, he fights Pat Healy. Healy takes him down. They're in some weird leg lock battle. So Maximo Blanco goes and starts kicking. So they're grounded. And he starts kicking Pat Healy repeatedly in the face to get out of the leg. I think it was a leg lock or some other submission hold. He fights Sam Sicilia. Maximo Blanco just keeps grabbing. Kim Winslow was the officiator there, was the ref. And man, Maximo Blanco just totally grabbed the fence every opportunity he had. If Kim Winslow wasn't such a bad ref, he should have got a point deduction. Fights Akira Kurosani within the first minute, needed to grab his opponent. Got the DQ loss against Akira Kurosani. This guy is one of the worst rule breakers in MMA. Probably one of the worst in the UFC. Other guys that are really bad would be like Johnny Bedford's really bad about it. Who else is really bad about breaking the rules? Blanco. This guy's just terrible at breaking the rule. I mean, they say breaks the rules at least like once every fight, you know? Skill-wise, stand-up and wrestling, really good. I mean, he's really strong there, you know? But as far as his ability to follow the rules, not good. Daniel Hooker, 11-4 record, 5 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. He's 24 years old on a 6-fight win streak. Most recently being Ian Entwistle. Entwistle went for this like super. I mean, he's a very submission first type of fighter. So he goes for this ill-advised leg lock. Because he wins a lot of fights by leg lock. But instead of like letting go or transitioning to something else or something, Entwistle just keeps going for a leg lock and just gets elbowed and ground and pounded badly. And I've actually seen this with Daniel Hooker too. He actually has some good ground and pound. A lot of times his opponent will put himself in a really bad position on the ground. And he actually has some decent stand-up as well. But yeah, so I'll say that much with Hooker. He has good stand-up, some good ground and pound. Otherwise, skill-wise, I think Maximo Blanco is a better wrestler. Probably has a better stand-up. It's always tough to pick Maximo Blanco, though, because he's just so unreliable, especially with the amount of rules he breaks. But nonetheless, I think he's the better fighter here. So Maximo Blanco for the win. Okay. To recap the main card, I have Mark Hunt over Roy Nelson. Myles over Takanori Gomi. Yoshihiro Akiyama beating Amir Sadollah. Nakai over Miesha Tate. Kiichi Kunimoto over Richard Walsh. And Kyoji Horiguchi beating Delos Reyes. On the prelims, I have Alex Caceres over Masanori Kanehara. Sam Sicilia over Katsunori Kikuno. Hungyu Lim beating Takanori Sato. Kang over Mitsunori Tanaka. Johnny Case over Kazuki Tokudome, and Maximo Blanco over Daniel Hooker. So that's it for my predictions for UFC Fight Night 52, Hunt versus Nelson. If you have any comments, just leave them below. That's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.